Good evening, everybody. I make it 7:30. I haven't quite got used to people not standing up when I walk in yet.
We can do.
Thank you. You'll know what it's like. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming along to tonight's executive. Are there any apologies?
Chairman, there's apologies from Councillor Haytham Taylor and Holson.
Thank you very much. Okay, in the minutes of the previous meeting, can we have a show of hands to see whether they're accepted? Okay, I will sign those. Okay. And are there any declarations of interest? No? No declaration? Okay. Public questions time. I don't see any members of the public to ask any questions. No? Okay. Member question times. Okay. So you've got 20 minutes which will be allowed for you to ask questions, and obviously there are supplementaries with this. So the first question I move to is from Gary Cowan. Gary?
I won't need 20 minutes. I'd like to ask the question standing in my name.
Good evening, Gary.
Good evening.
Comments on the pre-submission version of the local plans for both the Royal Borough of Windsor, Maidenhead and Reading Borough Council were considered through the individual executive member decision in the usual way. All information is available on the website. By the way of an overview, an IEMD report on the Reading Borough local plan was considered and agreed on the 10th of January 2018. Our comments raised an objection until the lack of policy and accommodation provision for the gypsy and travellers was addressed within the Reading Borough. Our consideration carefully considered the planned housing provision in the Reading Borough, whilst there were a modest shortfall against the level of housing need as defined by the Berkshire, including South Bucks, strategic housing market assessment was being addressed through a separate memorandum of understanding between the Western Berkshire Housing Market Area Authorities, Reading Borough Council, Bracknell Forest Council, West Berks Council and ourselves. This agreement stated the modest shortfall would be addressed within the HMA authorities as agreed by government in the planning policy. It is important to note that no agreement was made to commit to Woking Borough Council to provide any additional homes. Indeed, we expressed to our partners that we would not do this. It is important to note that under the government's new standard method for calculating housing need, Reading Borough actually have a surplus now of housing supply, so actually no shortfall exists going forward. With regards to the Royal Borough, an IEMD report was considered and agreed on the 16th of August 2017. 4 representatives were submitted to the draft local plan. In broad terms, our comment were raised to ensure that the authorities in the Eastern Berkshire housing area plan separately and appropriately for their own housing needs. For the avoidance of doubt, no approach has been made to Woking Borough Council to provide development on behalf of the Royal Borough. If such an approach was made, then we would strongly resist it as being inappropriate.
Gary, do you have a second?
Yeah, thank you, Wayne. That's actually very, very helpful. Looking at that request...
You finished with... Oh, it's on, sorry.
Yeah, you're looking at the request from Reading and the reply from Mark Ashwell, which I thought was quite appropriate. They do make the point about the Western HMA will help to deliver the housing needs in the other areas. I'm pleased that you're not dealing with it as it's saying. But one of the other areas that did concern me was Tony Page said in his letter, Reading's unmet need. We'd wish to see the delivery of affordable homes, which we've seen, is important for Reading, but they want to have nomination rights over the affordable housing delivered to meet their needs if we deliver any, and it would also be essential to engage in discussions about developer contributions and community infrastructure levy. So not only are they saying if we do need some properties, if you can build some properties for us, we would want the CIL, the infrastructure levies and all the bits and bobs that go with it. And I just really would like an assurance that we would not do this.
Well, I'm more than happy to give you the assurance that that won't happen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. Okay, Prue Ray?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Why was there an increase of £4,027,164 for Elmsfield in the capital spend last year, which is on page 53 in the capital programme outturn report?
Thank you for your question, Prue. The increase in budget was provided to offset the SIL contribution required under the Elmsfield scheme. The SIL contribution was not included in the medium-term financial plan, since this is a payment by the local authority to the local authority and not a cash transfer. The SIL contribution has been identified within our wider communications over the years and is not an additional cost to the scheme.
Do you have a supplementary?
I certainly do. It may be better directed to you, however, in your new role. Welcome to it as
Thank you.
finance person,
Thank
so, which I recognise you have only recently taken up since this report was written. There are two actual figures for Elmsfield on there, both of around 4 million. There's also a comment in the figure below. It says approximately 500,000. I can check this one. Which seems a rather casual approach to putting a report together, but the bit I'd like to ask you about is the first line of that page. The council are asked to retrospectively approve and note the budget adjustments. There's over £13 million worth of spend there. Do you think it's acceptable to retrospectively approve £13 million worth of spending?
No.
I should hope not.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Right. Regarding agenda item 8, the consultation on future housing working borough, I would like to ask if it has been considered how the cost of carrying out this consultation could be better managed. It could be combined with other literature that WBC, Working Borough Council, distributes, or it could include responses via a website survey, which would reduce postage costs and make the process much more convenient for people to work on.
Good evening, Imogen. All households in the borough will be sent a postcard or letter explaining the purpose of the consultation, following on from the Homes of the Future. This will include a web address with a link for an online survey, a free post option, which will also allow paper responses to be sent back to the council for those not able to go online. Together, both these methods ensure residents are able to respond to the consultation. However, combining this consultation with other council communication would dilute its prominence, as we found out through the Homes of the Future, and likely result in a much smaller number of responses. The cost of the consultation is therefore considered appropriate to its purpose and importance. The consultation will be advertised in multiple ways, including via Borough News, council website, news releases, e-newsletters, social media, and hopefully every member in their own ward will have their own communication that will go out, and that will be finalised in the coming weeks.
Thank you. Your supplementary?
I just kind of want to know what independent advice you've taken on how putting this survey together is, and the structures of the questions. Did I say that?
Well, I think, there's lots of, if you consider, we did the Homes for the Future, and both myself and Councillor Monroe spent quite some time going out to 9 areas. We did resident groups. We sent a booklet to every household in the borough, and we got nearly 1,500 responses. I hear that that's a record, but we need more than 1,500. For the purposes of what we want here, I think we need a much larger percentage, because if we're going to take on government, we need to make sure the residents of Wokingham are behind us. So I think we're trying every angle possible, and as I said earlier, I'm relying on all of you as ward members to be into your residents and to make sure they do respond, because we've got one chance and we need to make sure that we get it right this time.
Thank you. The next question. Commissioner?
So,
sorry, another one.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll let you off.
Could we ask more questions on this proposed surveys, other than if residents want us to build more houses? Instead include questions such as, but not limited to, the types of housing the residents want, such as bungalows, flats, smaller than 5-bedroom homes, or proposed locations for the new housing, whether we should build new SDLs or not, whether we should build the infrastructure first for housing estates before the first house is built, as they did in Cambridge, as you went on the trip to see. And, or can we do this on an online web service, WBC website? If all you're doing is sending out a postcard, do you want fewer houses? I can tell you right now the answer is already no, but people would prefer fewer houses. They don't really want more houses no matter what you do.
Before I answer this, I just make sure I'm answering the right thing. Let me go back to the Homes for the Future consultation, then I'll come back to that because it's an important one. So, as you know, from November 2018, we started in Winnersh, our first event that we did, until February 2019, the Council publicly consulted on the local plan update, the LPU. Under the banner of Homes for the Future, this was extensive, as I previously said, advertised throughout a number of areas through ward members, and it asked various questions, as you all know, on future development in the borough. Whether new housing should be built in new communities, with supporting infrastructure, if so, where is the most suitable locations? And you know, I think we had at the time, and they did increase as we went through, we had up to 303 sites. What types of housing, jobs will be the most suitable in parts of the borough, for example, apartments, smaller homes, offices, etc. With reference to all these areas and land promoted for the future development in the borough, there are also areas where we would promote or would be supported. Responses could be submitted, as I've said earlier, via the online survey, and again, we had nearly 1,500 responses from our residents by filling out the response form or writing to the council. The consultation concluded 8 public drop-in events across the borough. As I said, from Winnersh, we had one in Twyford, one in Working Town, etc., etc. With the opportunity to talk to officers. On some occasion, we had over 20 staff there. As I said, on most of them, apart from one, I was at. And to go through the local plan process. This submitted comments and the detailed technical work will form the next stage of the plan, which will be a public consultation of the draft local plan that we hope to come out this autumn. This will allow all interested parties to submit their comments on the proposed development strategy for the sites for the housing, employment, open spaces and land uses.
Yeah.
So we will do all that.
What exactly are you planning to ask? The questions, actually.
Well, we've already asked those questions through if you've been online for the Homes for the Future consultation. We asked most of those questions around what type of housing, where do you want it, how high do you want to go up, do you want to go more than 3-storey? So we've covered a vast amount of ground within that. All that consultation has already happened.
That wasn't the answer to my question. What are you planning on asking on the survey?
On the Homes for the Future survey?
Yeah.
Well, that's all, we've already asked all those questions.
No,
Survey the new house.
Special.
Oh, right, okay. So,
It's confusing with names.
Yes.
yeah, no. It's going to be a simple question. Do you agree with the government imposed numbers, housing numbers?
I can tell you right now, it's no.
Well, can I just say, let's hope so, and let's hope we get over 50% of the borough.
Seriously.
Right, thank you very much everybody for taking part in that. We've actually now worked our way through the questions. We can move on to item number 6, which is the revenue monitoring outturn, which is on page 15 to 34. Okay. This report reports the revenue outturn position of the Council 2018-19 financial year, highlighting the effective management of the Council's finances to ensure that value for money for taxpayers. You are asked to note here that the outturn position of the revenue budget and the level of balances in respect to the general fund, housing revenue accounts, school block and the authority's investment portfolio. 2, agree the general fund, carry forward the request of 2 million, that's set £2,043,820,000, set out in Appendix B in the report. Note that the significant reduction in the overspend in the general fund revenue account achieved since the last report. Substantially, this is a result of the continuous improvement work in the adult social care and customer localities directorates. At the end of the financial year, we see 2018-19, the general fund revenue is reporting a total spend of £129.3 million against planned budget spend of £128.25 million, resulting in an adverse variance of 0.78, which on a budget that size is less than 1%. In fact, it's near 0.5% at 0.61. The housing revenue account has an adverse balance, again, which is £30,000, which is relatively small. And the school block, there's an adverse variance of £1,050,000, and that's basically less than 1%, because that budget is in fact £130 million. And that's including the costs of special needs, which are up by over 15% in the year. If you've all looked at the report, what I would like you to do, I would like you to vote on the recommendations. Could I please see the hands? All those in favour? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, next item is the capital outturn, and that's on page 35 to 54. Okay. Again, this report to inform the members of the capital programme outturn, to seek approval for the relevant budgets carrying forward and demonstrate effective safe use of our resources to deliver services, improvements and service continuity through capital investment. In 2018-19, the Council, against the working budget of £146.5 million, made a total capital investment in services of £132.2 million, representing a spend of £90 million. The shortfall was basically due to, well, the underspend was due to a reappraisal of 2 schemes, and once they've been reviewed and been completed, a new big stroke scheme will be raised and evaluated and added to the programme if approved. For the second year running, the Council continues to deliver more capital investment than in any other year of the Council's history, a large percentage of which is forward-funded infrastructure, such as roads, to improve congestion around the borough. I recommend this report to the Executive. If there's any questions?
I just wonder if you'd be able to say any more about prudential borrowings and 3.8, and the particular point that it says 30 million is funding is from internal borrowing.
Very difficult to hear,
Sorry.
So, say a bit more about prudential.
Okay, right. On that page,
Page 47. Particularly the internal borrowing.
I'm not quite clear. When you say the potential, basically what it means is the borrowing, which is £73.8 million, that is borrowing in the main predicated on S106 and SIL money coming forward. And that's, so if you like, the discussion very much is around forward funding everything we can, including the roads, even though we don't meet the points where that money's coming forward. We know that money's coming forward from the developers. So, for instance, things such as the Winner's Relief Road, we haven't collected all the money for that, but we're forward funding it because we believe it's an important piece of infrastructure. It's the same with the Ardenfield bypass, although part of that is funded by government grant, which we don't have to pay. Any other questions?
Internal borrowing as well, John.
Sorry?
Internal borrowing as well. Nearly half of it's internal borrowing.
I'm going to come back to you on that, Frank, Pauline, because I don't yet understand how the internal borrowing works.
one of the issues I have about the medium-term financial
Okay,
plan.
well, I don't understand that, and it would be wrong for me to say, yeah, we'll try and cross them while later, to be honest. Okay. Any other questions? What difficult ones? No? No? Okay, well, I recommend this to you. I'll just read out the recommendations which appear on page 35. Executive is asked to approve Q4 adjustments to the capital programme, and I do take on your point, Prue, about retrospective adjustments, and I will find out why that happens. And 2, note that the 2018-2019 capital outturn is set out in Appendix 8 to the report. Approve the reprofiling of the budgets into future financial years as set out in Appendix B to the report. Can I please have a show of hands? That is carried. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, if we could just move on to item future housing consultation, number 8. Wayne. Yes, yeah, you're referring it to, yeah, recommending it goes.
Thank you very much. As we said earlier, future housing consultation, this was widely publicised and spoke about at the full council in March, so I'm sure you're all very aware of it. The purpose of the report is to approve a public consultation on future housing in the borough, and the recommendation, there's one slight amendment in this, because we will be taking it to the special council that comes after this, so that it should say that the executive, special council, executive committee recommended to, outline, approve the future housing consultation in the form set out in paragraph 3.1, authorise a supplementary estimate between 45 and 80,000 to fund the consultation, authorise the Director of Corporate Services and Director of Locality and Customer Services in consultation with the Leader of the Council to agree minor amendments if necessary prior to the consultation.
Okay, members, have you read, I assume you've all read the paper. This is a recommendation, sorry.
Just a question for you. I know in the recommendations that there's a mixture of online surveys and a postcard question. I'd just like to ask what protection there is for people voting twice, how you're going to validate the electronic voting, and whether you've taken any advice about whether the electronic voting is valid. And I'm very keen, this is really important, it's very important that we start to stand up for the residents in terms of the amount of housing that's being planned and make sure that their view is carried forward. But it's really important that we don't get any legal kickback from the result. So I just want to know what sort of precautions there are about double voting and what advice you've taken about how the electronic vote would be received when it gets to the other end, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, we did raise that very question last week, and the team here went away and looked at that, and they came back with that every household will get, depending on the number of voters in a household, because as it pointed out to me, you could have 4 people living in a household, 2 of which we are trying to get on the housing ladder that might be interested in having more housing, and then 2 older people that wouldn't. So there will be unique reference numbers, and there will be validation checks once those, wherever they come back in. So if they come in via the free post, which I think is very important, we get all of our residents so they do have the option, and we'll also give them the online option, because working is very digital, but there will be validation checks and there will be unique numbers as to which reference the household.
Can I add that would be checked against the voters register? That seems to be the way they're going to do it.
Yeah, I don't know if that, I don't know the answer to that, but I know that when I spoke to Dave Adams, that we've gone away and checked with various people to make sure that it would, if we got tested on this, it would stand up.
Okay, thank you. Executive member. Are there any more questions? Do you understand what we're doing with this? Okay, they're asking to take it forward to a cross-party special county executive, which will happen after this meeting. So all those in favour? That is carried, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item, which is item 9, the procurement in this case, and the dynamic purchasing system.
This is a relatively simple proposal to switch on some functionality that we already own, so there's no cost to it, to allow dynamic purchasing through, it's still in line with UJ, but it allows us to have a subset of already verified suppliers that we can purchase from. It should speed things up, it should get us a better price. Most people use electronic purchasing in the outside world, and there's a few other local authorities already use this system. So I said there's no cost, and I think it's a very sensible thing.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I've got one question for you. Will this make it easier for smaller suppliers to bid?
I don't know. I mean, they're pre-validated. I would hope so, but I'll make sure that we still encourage smaller suppliers and local suppliers in particular.
Thank you. Okay, members, I assume you've read the paper and no further questions. All those that are in favour of the recommendation? That is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, that's the end of this meeting. All those that are not involved in the next meeting, which is the Special Council Executive Committee, can leave if they wish, or they can remain. It's a public meeting. It's entirely up to you.